Hey everyone, this is my second attempt at this video. I went to do it yesterday and I did actually do it, but I wasn't very satisfied with it because, fun fact, there was a rules update yesterday and it changed a few things about the army. Just before we get started, I just want to quickly say that this tier list is mostly for fun. It's from my own personal experience playing the game, which I've played quite a bit of it. This is for 3.5, so, we're going to be covering all those rules. And if you don't like where something's placed on the tier list, feel free to drop a comment and we can have a chin wag in the comment section. Also, a like and subscribe really helps me out. It lets me know I'm doing a good job, and at 500 subscribers, I'm going to play Space Crusade, so, as in I'll review it. Also, yeah, just keep in mind that this is not a super duper in-depth breakdown of each army. We're just going to be sort of having a surface level look, having a quick discussion of what I think they do well. If there anything that particularly stands out about the army. So I am planning to do full breakdowns on the armies in the future, but this is just a quick little. And we're going to start with Alien Hives. Now, I updated the list because I'm not sure if anyone else created it. I created one earlier that a few people use. This is an updated version. Also, I should probably mention, actually just before we start, that Battle Brothers, Havoc Brothers, Wormhole Demons, and Prime Brothers, they're all in the one spot on the list. I don't think there's a huge catastrophic difference like there was in 3.4 between the factions, but I will talk about them where I sort of place each individual one. Alien Hives. Let's get started with Alien Hives. So Alien Hives is a really good list. They're just a good, well-rounded army. They've got a nice amount of spells. Their army-wide ability +1 morale is a bit, but it works for them, so, I'm never going to get super excited about it, but it does work. And, yeah, they're just a really nice army overall. They can go ranged. They don't have, super duper long range weapons like some of these armies, but they can go ranged. Those ranged weapons can be deadly, and they're really dangerous in close combat. And, of course, they have a good spread of elite units and chaff units, and they can also take advantage of ambush pretty well, so yay. So Alien Hives I'm going to put at the moment into the top of A tier. It may go up to S tier as we sort of do more stuff. I'll do a final sort of bookkeeping thing at the end. Okay, Battle Brothers. So Battle Brothers are our elite army. They cost a fair bit of points to field, but I'd probably say that they have a lot of flexibility to make up for that, which is good. Their army-wide ability is based on whatever brother faction you pick, which I believe it is currently regular Battle Brothers. If they're shaken on a 4+, they recover from being shaken. That's alright, that's not bad. Blood Brothers have primal basically, so any 6s they can roll an additional hit. Wolf Brothers, they basically get a 3-inch redeploy each turn, so they basically get a 3-inch teleport. That's good, I don't mind that. Dark Brothers have a 3-inch range increase on shooting and a 3-inch charge range increase. I actually think that's really good. Night Brothers, of course, 6+ saves on top of their regular saves. And Watch Brothers, I believe, still have a relentless style thing. Just let me double check Watch Brothers, because I don't actually play Watch Brothers very often, because they're probably the one army where the flexibility really doesn't factor in. So when you pick it, they get +1 AP, +1 hit rolls when attacking. That's good too. The only downside of them is they don't have as much flexibility as the other factions, which I actually think is a bit more of a hindrance. So I'd probably put them on par with regular Battle Brothers at the bottom of the list of brothers, simply because they don't have the flexibility, but they are probably better at what they do than regular Battle Brothers. And then I'd probably go Night Brothers above them, and then I'd probably go Blood and Wolf on the next ones. Actually, I'd probably go Wolf, then Blood, and then I'd actually put Dark Brothers probably at the top, because I just think that extra charge range and movement, really good. Their weapon ability for their army is, it's decent, The thing is, they can wear a lot of different hats, and they do those hats very well. I'm also going to put them in A tier. I do think that you obviously pay a bit more for them, but they're very flexible at what they do, so that helps. Blessed Sisters. Devout got a huge upgrade this edition. It just is on all attacks now. So on a 6, they double hit. That includes their flamethrowers, so if they roll a 6, that's 6 hits. They also have Purge on their flamethrowers, which is pretty good. That's just +1 AP if the armor class is between 2 and 4, like the defense roll. Always good. It just means that it's really hard to deal with them. And extra devout and all that stuff. Their leaders are pretty good. They buff. They got a nice spell list, particularly they got a bit of an anti-caster spell as well, which is always nice. And yeah, just overall, they're a really good faction. They're quite flexible as well. They can go short range, they can go close combat, they can go long range, and particularly with Devout, just stacking on everything. And also stacks with things like Surge and other things like that. So yeah, overall, I think that they are a really strong faction, and it's kind of hard to bring an army to really sort of deal with them, because if you go chaff, they just take a whole bunch of flamethrowers, and you're in a bad time. If you take elite, they can take just weapons that deal with elite armies as well, and they're like one of those mid-tier armies, which means they're not too expensive and they're not chaff either. So yeah, these guys S tier. They are just good. They're very strong at what they do, and they do everything pretty well. So Custodians. Oh, before I talk about Custodians, we don't need D tier. D tier doesn't exist anymore. There's no army that is so bad that it deserves to be in D tier. So good news overall. Custodian Brothers. Oh, I know I'm gonna get freaking screwed for this one. Okay, let's get something out of the way. I think Custodian Brothers are cool. I understand why people like them, and I absolutely am happy to take an individual unit of these guys in another army. So they are really strong. Like, they are a meat grinder. When they get into close combat, you just write that unit off as dead as shit. The issue is that they are still weak to deadly weapons. Yes, they do have a way to avoid them now. They have Fortified, which I think they're called I think it's called Guardian because of their faction-wide ability, which is cool, you know, so -1 AP to a minimum of 0. Their sisters also kind of do something for them now, which is they add precision onto units. Like, they debuff them with the precision tag, so that's not bad, you know, that's fine. They mark them with precision, so that means +1 to hit, which, I mean, on Custodians just kind of feels like a bit of a hat on a hat, but that's what you do. But yeah, they lost Shroud from range, which is -6 to range attacks, and honestly, I would have put them in low B if they still had that. They do not, so I think they're just gonna have to go into C. I'm sorry for all you Custodian fans. I do think they're cool. I am gonna take a unit of them with another army, but I just don't think that they have the grunt to really like perform amazingly on the battlefield just as a raw army. So the lower they are on the tier does not necessarily mean they're bad. It just means that they've got an uphill battle against other people on the tier list. DAO. I made them out of plastic. DAO. So this is an army that I would have said were aggressively B tier in 3.4, and now I'm going to say they're aggressively A tier. Yeah, targeting visor. It makes them really good at shooting, and that's what they want to do. And the craziest part is because they've got that, as long as it's outside of 9-inch range, it means that they can take shotguns and really start sticking things on. And their leaders buff their guys really effectively. They have a pretty good spell list. It's not amazing, but it's good. And they've just got a whole bunch of nice special abilities across the board. So it's just really easy to sort of sit back and just like open fire, and if people try and ambush you and stuff like that, you can deal with them with some of these other options. So I will still say I don't think they're particularly great in close combat, but that's really not what they're specialized at. So yeah, but I think it's more difficult to deal with them now. Even if you drop in units into their backline, they can be quite dangerous still. So yeah. Overall, just a real solid A tier on these guys. Dark Elf Raiders. Oh man, another army that I would have said were pretty clearly B tier because they're a bit underpowered. Now I'm not sure. Like, are they top of B tier, bottom of A? Basically, Harass is, well, it's better than Hit and Run. So Harass is they get to move 3 inches after shooting or after close combat. The big thing that they get is Ruinous Frenzy, and the kicker with this is, alright, so Ruinous Frenzy is whenever they completely kill a unit, they get +1 hit, +1 defense, and it stacks up to +2. Just for the record, this can make things like Witches really dangerous, because suddenly Witches drop from a 5+ armor save after they kill 2 units to a 3+ armor save. They're rocking Battle Brother armor saves. And if they're elite witches, they are also hitting on 2s now. With a leader, I don't know a good way to deal with them. Hopefully you kill them. That you know, that's the thing. Hopefully you took some AP weapons against this army that really doesn't have good armor classes to begin with. So yeah, and the big thing that the advantage of Ruinous Frenzy comes is it comes on warrior units and it comes on witches units. So it comes on their core units, which means those guys can get really stacked really quick. And yeah, it's hard to deal with them. They also have a unit, court henchmen, I want to call them, and they have an ability where they can just, after they're finished acting for a round, they can just take another round of actions. Now that is only half of the people who have that ability can do that per round. It is only once per game too. So if you've got 3 of them, 2 of them can do it, say round 2, and then round 3, the last guy can do his additional action. But those guys are deadly, particularly once you combine them with a leader who can also take it. Yeah, so overall, Dark Elf Raiders just have a lot of really nasty options. I would still say the issue I have with them is they are still really a chaff killer army. You know, they got Lacerate, which is on reroll 6s on defense. Yeah, so, but overall, I'd probably say they are dangerous, and I'm going to put them in A tier as well. Dwarf Guilds, my bros, my faves. You may have guessed that by me dressing up as a dwarf. Sorry, by me getting a dwarf on the show, Flint Rustbeard. You know, he's a top guy. Yeah, my primary strategy with these guys is to give everyone shotguns and just go to town. They do also have Guild Bounty, which is basically kind of like their version of Ruinous Frenzy. And so what that does, though, is it gives them +1 AP, +1 defense, which on these dwarves, who already have the faction-wide, if they're over 9 inches, they get a +1 defense, it just kind of goes crazy. And then their leaders also, you know, get some good buffs for their units. So, you know, one big thing is iron shotguns, give them the +6 range aura, and then, you know, suddenly you've got guys that have, you know, 12-inch iron shotguns, which already have AP2, and then they kill 2 units, and suddenly these guys are rocking AP4 shotguns. And if there's 10 of them in a squad, that's 20 AP4 attacks. That's more than spinners. So, yeah, the downside is, of course, for the dwarves is that they're slow, which doesn't help, so you really need transports or ambush. And the second thing is that I may have mentioned their special guild bounty thing, but only their leaders, miners, and bikers can take it. Now, on bikers, yeah, that's quite nasty, and miners with the right stuff, yeah, absolutely, but their core unit, their warriors, they're kind of crap. They needed guild bounty really bad because most of their guns have no AP. So it's really hard to kill anything but chaff with them, and they're also kind of on the expensive side. And yeah, slow is detrimental to these guys because most of their best guns are that kind of short range, mid-range sort of death ball. So yeah, I mean, I do love Iron Veterans, but dwarves, sadly, B tier. I can't put them any higher than that. I want to. I love them. I enjoy playing them. They're one of my favorite armies to play, but I can't give them any higher than B, sadly. Elven Jesters. Here's another one that's going to get me crucified. Elven Jesters are great. As in, like, I love the look of them. I think they're cool, but I also think they have, like, almost no flexibility as an army. They are strong. They've got evasive, which is great across the board, so just -1 to hit all the time. So that's pretty good. They also have a 3-inch blink, kind of like Wolf Brothers. So that is also a good ability. And they also have faction-wide purchasable ability to redeploy. So whenever their turn ends, they can choose to ambush off the table and then ambush back on the table next turn. That is strong, particularly because their whole army can do it. It's nasty. This can really sort of take you off guard because you can do something extremely dangerous with a unit of your guys, put them in danger for next turn, then just go, here they're off the board now. Or, of course, if you need to, say, drop back and defend an objective marker that may be taken If you don't ambush a group of guys in and just occupy the space, obviously they can't contest it, but they can move in and murder the people who are trying to take it. So, and effectively, because they got that 3-inch blink, it means they have 3 inches of extra movement and 3 inches of extra charge range too, from wherever they ambush in from. So, dangerous. And it is ambush from anywhere. So, yeah. That being said, I do think that some of their units still kind of suck ass. I'm sorry. I just... Like, Jokers, I sort of understand where they're coming from with those now, but I still don't think they're particularly great. I'm sorry. Fools, I don't know why you take them except to fill space, because they're not a very good unit. Jesters, though, on the other hand, I'd definitely take them in any Elven army for thematic purposes, but I just take them in any other army just to take a group of them because they're good. So basically, normally I'd put these guys in C because I feel like they're better as units, but they absolutely do stand on their own. I just think that they don't have a lot of options either. Because on something like, say, a reliable weapon, like Sisters would torch Elven Jesters. They just take a whole bunch of flamethrowers. Elven Jesters want to get in the same range as Sisters do. And yeah, okay, so they're hitting on 3s now instead of 2s. Because reliable kicks in first and then it's -1. But, I mean, if they roll a 6... and they don't have good armor, they got like 5+ armor saves, so yeah. I do think they are above Dwarf Guilds though. I do think they are stronger than them. Eternal Dynasty. So, I fell in love with these guys during the beta of 3.5 because they used to have this awesome army ability where if they were within half distance, they got +1 AP on their guns, which made their warriors really strong. They don't have that anymore, they have Primal. So on a 6, they get to roll an additional hit. Problem is that I really don't feel like they can take overly great advantage of this. Their leaders have the problem of you want to be able to take 2 different special abilities to get the best out of these guys, and guess what? They can't. So, yeah, they have a bit of a leader problem. I think they're not too bad in close combat. They're not too bad at that sort of short to mid-range shooting, but I just feel like they can't take advantage of their army-wide ability very effectively. They do have Vengeance, which basically is if a unit is dead, like if one of your units get killed, you get to place a marker on the unit that killed it, and they get every unit in your army gets +1 to hit permanently for the rest of the game. They also stack, so you can stack, if that unit keeps killing dudes, it's +1 to hit constantly. That being said, that's pretty much what they've got going. I want to like them a lot more than I do, but I feel like that army-wide ability does not match their army, I suppose is what I'm saying. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe an update will come out and it will fix it, but they don't really get a shit ton of rending attacks or anything like that you need lots of 6s for. So, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to put them in B. I think they're a very average army. I think you can use them, and I think they're playable, but I don't think they're particularly great at what they do either. Goblin Reclaimers. So I've only played a few games with these guys, so take whatever I say with them with a grain of salt, basically. I like them. I think they're fun to play, but I don't think they're particularly good to play either. I don't mind Mischief. Mischief's it's they need to reroll 6s, so they're not too bad at chaff, but. And they've got a lot of cool little abilities. Their spell list's not too bad. Their leaders actually are pretty good, and they get redeploy, which is nice. Redeploy is that after everyone's deployed, you may pick 2 units and reposition them on the table. So if you want your tank to be in a spot where it's not going to get shot by their tank first turn, you can move him over to the other side and swap the guy who's currently standing there with him. So yeah, that's good. That's a nice little ability up front. Overall, I don't think that, as I said, I don't think they're particularly amazing, but they are fun. I enjoy playing with them. They've got a lot of little unpredictable sort of things that they can do, and you're like, oh geez, I wasn't expecting that. Just like Mischievous is, and they get Mischievous boost, which is kind of cool. So it's like rerolls 5s and 6s, which I believe one of the other factions also gets an ability like that. So yeah, cool. I like them. I don't think they're particularly fantastic, and they are rather inconsistent because they don't really hit things very often. Most of their guys are like 5s, and then you got a few 4s basically in there. So, so I'm going to put them below Eternal Dynasty because Eternal Dynasty, I found, does perform generally better, as in they're more consistent. When Goblins get that luck, though, they are probably better than Eternal Dynasty. Alright, Havoc Bros. So once again, we are talking where to put these guys. So Havoc Brothers, of course, have Plague, +6 armor saves. Sorry, +6 extra save. That's great. Lust gets extra movement. Change, of course, get spellcasters all over the place. And they're also -1 to hit over 9 inches away, that's a good ability. That's strong, particularly for people with Battle Brother armor saves. And yeah, and then what else have we got? So last change, War. What is War's ability actually? Yeah, so any rolls of 1, they take an additional wound, also a good ability. And regular Havoc Brothers, which I was actually shocked about, +1 AP when they're shooting over 9 inches away. That's a good ability. That may be actually one of the better ones out of those ones. So I'd probably do something like, I'd probably say I'd put War and Plague roughly on the same area. Maybe War slightly above them. And then I'd probably go Lust above them, then Change. And then I'd probably put regular Havoc Brothers and Change sort of on the same thing. Because obviously Change is good because they get a lot of spellcasters as well. So actually Change might go slightly above regular Battle Brothers just because of the staggering amount of magic they can end up doing. But yeah, Havoc Brothers, pretty much very flexible like Battle Brothers. They have a lot of the same stuff. But they also get demons, which is nice, obviously based on whatever faction they happen to be. And that's a nice little advantage. And they also get cultists, which, while not as cheap as you'd like them, they are cheap for a 10 unit gut blob, basically. So they just take up extra space. That's about it. That's pretty much where I'm at with Havoc Brothers. I think they're... yeah, actually, they got a good spell list, depending on the army. Obviously, that changes a little bit. And they've got good leaders. Like, Battle Brother leaders, including Havoc Brothers, are actually generally quite good. Like, they're rather nice at, like, being able to stack stuff onto their army. They're not quite as good as they once were, but they are still rather good. But that being said, I actually am going to put Havoc Brothers above Battle Brothers, because I just think that the ability to use demons and the ability to get cultists is just makes them a little bit more flexible in certain areas. Yes, High Elf Fleets and Human Defense Force for some reason are the wrong way around. I'll fix that now. I'll try and fix that in the thing too. And yeah, so High Elf Fleets, where are we with them? High Elf Fleets are really, really good, but they have a learning curve. So Noble Advance, 2 extra move and charge range, or advance, charge and advance. Yep, that's good. Like, that's a nice ability. And the big advantage they have is that they can put any shoes on they like and kick whatever ass they need to kick. You need to kill a chaff army, you take stingers, you take some dragons, you take some protectors, and you just start wrecking dudes. Even retributors, really nasty. You need to take out an elite army. You take revenants, you take shifters. Retributors are still really good. You take some Dark Reapers. Yeah, I never remember what they call Dark Reapers. Snipers, Vanquishers. That's what they call them now. And yeah, like, it's really hard to deal with them. That being said, they are squishier, and they can be caught out in the open and take a beating. But if you know how to use High Elf Fleets, I personally think you can beat any army in the game, and it's an uphill battle for damn near every army, because it's very hard to predict what the hell they're going to do. I honestly think the only armies that can really properly challenge a properly prepared High Elf Fleets player is other S tier armies. That being said, that's not to say that they can't be beaten by the lower tier armies, but it's an uphill climb in my personal opinion. I have played against them, I've played with them. They are difficult to overcome. But they can be played incorrectly, which is the big learning curve between them. Human Defense Force, another army that can wear a lot of different hats when needed, and their leaders are stupidly good at buffing their units. For one thing, their leaders buff. They don't aura, they buff. So you pick a unit within 12 and they get the buff. You can also take like radios as an upgrade for a lot of units, and these let the leader do it at 24 inch range. So that's good. That's a long distance. And also, they've got the ability Coordinate, which is such a flexible ability. What does Coordinate do? Your leader, after he makes his move, he can pick another unit within 12 or 24 if he's using the talkie box, the walkie-talkie, and yeah, he can immediately take their turn. Yeah, like, he can't pick his own unit, but he can immediately make another unit that hasn't activated take a turn. So that means, let's just say we're at the start of the turn, you've got initiative, you've just ambushed in a unit of stormtroopers, you need those stormtroopers to be able to shoot. The problem is that you also need your leader, who's in charge of ogres, to charge in and attack another unit. Well, as long as, you know, they're within, say, 24 of each other, you charge a guy in, which is not too crazy because the play area is 48 by 48. So it's not 24 inches if you're in the middle of the table is a huge area. So, you know, charge your ogres in, they butcher that unit, you know, they're crippled, and then you go, oh, stormtroopers take your turn, then the stormtroopers blast that unit that you need them to blast. That's just good. That's good strategy. That's good tactics right there. So, yeah, for Human Defense Force, or as it says on the thing, Human Defense 4, they are S tier as well. Human Inquisition. So let's start off and say that these guys used to be C tier, aggressively C tier, but they're now definitely not. So they added 2 units, Riot Judges and Breacher Guard, and these absolutely make the army way more well-rounded. They still don't have much in the way of tanks, so don't go in and go, ooh, I'm gonna pack a whole bunch of tanks. Yeah, that's not gonna work for you. But the real strength of these guys, well, they have good spellers too. But the real strength of these guys is their army-wide ability, Inquisitorial Agent. So you may remember me talking about how the court henchmen had the ability where they could just act after they've already acted, and half the people who have this ability have it. Yeah, that's the Human Inquisition's ability, Inquisitorial Agent, and they all have it. Every single one of them. Which means if they're rocking, say, 8 units, that means at the end of turn 2, they could go, half my army is going to be taking another action. Or at least, like, obviously you have to, yeah, they have to do it right after they act, they get an extra action. But that can be really nasty. It's like, yep, boom, bang, yep, that unit's only half dead, and they're going to probably attack me back next turn. Well, I can activate again and finish them off, or I can pull my guys out so that you can't actually hit them properly next turn. Both things are a viable way to do things. So you can make more dangerous plays with them and then pull them back, or you can double down and just go, well, this unit might die this turn, but they're going to damage 2 units really bad, or they're going to wipe out the enemy unit, whatever it happens to be. That being said, the henchmen do still have a problem in this army. You know, you have to take a double unit of them basically to make them workable, because they come in units of 3s. That's why Riot Judges and Breacher Guard are better, because they come in 10 and 5. I believe the Riot Judges come in 5 and the Breacher Guard come in 10. And they're basically Human Defense Force, like infantry. Yeah, so overall, where do I put this? Because this ability is strong. It means that instead of having, say, 8 actions in one turn, they can have 12. And then, you know, the next turn after that, even if you kill half of them, they may be able to get another 8 actions out of the turn. So yeah, it's definitely a difficult little quandary to have with these guys. That being said, I don't think that if you gave this to, say, Blessed Sisters or Human Defense Force or High Elf Fleets or Alien High, any of the A to S tier guys, it would push them up so much higher than the other people, it would make them broken. That being said, Human Inc. I don't think get as much mileage out of it as they could because of the way their army is structured. So for me personally, I do think it definitely puts them above C, for sure. It puts them above B, and it puts them into A, and I'd probably say it puts them above Dark Elf Raiders, to be completely honest. I'd probably say they're roughly on par with DAO. Infected Colonies, another one of my favorite armies to play. So they have Infect, so anytime you roll a 1, it's double wound. So defense rolls of a 1, it hits, they get wounded twice. Their whole army has it. That's great. They have actually quite a robust little list. Not a ton of tanks, but they do have some. But they have a lot of chaff units, and they have some really dangerous elite units. So that's always good. The thing is, they are really focused on close combat. They do have some ranged options, but they're really more of a close combat army. And of course, it's nice to sort of cosplay them as Resident Evil guys. You know, you got your Monstrous Titan, you got your Hunters, you've got your leaders, who you could use Wesker, for example, as a leader. So I think that's cool. I do like that. I actually think that's a really nifty thing. But that's the thing about them. They're nifty. They're an interesting little army to play, and you have fun with them. But they aren't a particularly great army. They're not bad. But yeah, they're aggressively B tier for me. I'd probably put them above Eternal Dynasty. I'd probably put them on par roughly with Dwarf Guilds if you play them right. Jackals. Where are they going? C, B, A, S? Are they going in S? No, they're going in B. Bottom of B. They would be in C, but I do think that you can take them as their own army. I want to love these guys. I think that their theming is amazing. I love them. I enjoy playing as them. They are very fun. They've got some cool abilities, but they don't hit anything. They are so hard to hit shit with. When they do hit, they hit like a truck. I think the big problem is that Jackals haven't quite decided if they want to be a close combat army or a ranged army. I generally find that when I play them ranged, they perform a little bit better than if they go close combat. And the big problem is that like close combat is a murder factory, right? We're talking about, this is where the men and the boys are separated from each other, right? A big stonking close combat unit with giant stonks absolutely murderates something that is not ready for close combat. The issue I have is that you can charge a unit of Jackals in with really dangerous weapons, and you can roll and you can kill like 2 people, and then they attack back and they kill like 8. And it's like, oh boy, that went really bad for me. But you can also then, next game, completely same sort of setup, you can charge in and murder their whole entire unit in 1 round. And that's the problem I have with the Jackals, is I can't figure out a way to make them consistent. Sort of like Goblin Reclaimers, but I find weirdly enough Goblin Reclaimers tend to be a little bit more consistent than Jackals, but Jackals are just too inconsistent. I've played about, I think about 12-15 games of them, and I'd probably say like 75% of them I've lost. And it's simply because I haven't rolled well in those games, and then in the games that I've won, I've just been on fire. You know, they're hitting all the time, they're murderating everything, and I just think that's the thing. I can absolutely see them possibly winning a tournament with someone who like just rolls really well. Oh, not cheating, obviously, but like if you made a deal with the luck gods right before you went into a tournament and you didn't roll below a 5 like a lot of the time, Jackals would be terrifying. But as it is, they just aren't. So sorry, Jackals. I want to love you more. If it was my favorite factions, they'd probably be up in the S tier, or at least the A tier, but this is who I think is good, not who I think is the awesomest faction. Okay, Machine Cults. So these guys were D tier for a while, and then at the end of 3.4, I moved them up to, I want to say C tier. I said I feel like they still need just a little bit more. And great news, guys, they are B tier, and I'm actually going to put them, I think slightly above Dwarves. I think they're worse than Jesters, but they're better than Dwarves. So their faction-wide ability, Machine Fog, -1 to hit when 9 inches away. That's, as I said, with Change Brothers, that's a good ability. And they've just got a much more well-rounded army now. Their army, actually, now their leaders sort of do assist their lower ranked guys, which is great. They've got a bit more flexibility in some of these lower ranked dudes. Their close combat options are much better than they used to be. They're not relying on like one. I think there are 2 units that were all right in close combat, and they sort of relied on those. There's still those 2 units, but they are just better now. And cyborgs are always fun. They've also got a decent spell list. I don't mind it. You know, most of the spell lists now are decent. That's why I haven't bought them up. Unless they really stand out on a spell list, I probably won't. They won't have been bought up, basically. Most of the spell lists just are better at assisting the army at doing what they do, as well as having some better attack options. But enough of that. Machine Cults, where are we at? Yeah, I just think that they're good. They've got a really nice theme as an army. I enjoyed playing them, unlike when I used to say that they were an army with the best abilities in the game and the worst units. which I still think is true for the start of 3rd edition. But yeah, they're now much better. Orc Marauders. Let's talk about Orc Marauders. So we've got another really just well-rounded army that's fun to play. When I say well-rounded, I mean they are very close combat focused, but ferocious, is devout basically on 6s. They double hit. And they also have guns that stack surge, so you know your shooter guys can be really dangerous because they can take a lightning cannon. They've got extra ferocious on them. So suddenly it's like, oh boy, they rolled a 6 and that's 3 lightning cannon hits. And lightning cannons are really strong. So yeah, Orc Marauders are really fun to play. I enjoy them, and their leaders all buff them at doing what they're meant to do. So you can take a leader that buffs the guys to make them better at shooting. You can take a leader that buffs, your close combat guys to get them in close combat quicker, and make them more dangerous in close combat instead of getting in quicker. But yeah, their spell list is, decent. I think they are a strong faction, and I am actually going to put them probably above DAO, I think. Yeah, I'd probably actually put these sort of 3 roughly on the same sort of par. Prime Brothers, well, we can keep these ones a bit shorter because we've already talked about Battle Brothers. So Prime Brothers have Fortify, which is -1 AP, but they now no longer have their 2+ armor saves. They have 3+ armor saves. So they sort of do still end up with their higher save, but it's just a bit of an extra walk to get there. That being said, they also added a new unit in of destroyers, so that gives them another ambush option, which is great because they were real light on ambush. They had jump jets and raiders, and that was it. That was all they had. Now they have destroyers as well, which I will admit is kind of sad because I think it's sort of overrides the aggro squad, which I really like using. I mean, destroyers are basically like slightly worse aggro squad, but they get ambushed to make up for it. So I just don't see why you'd take an aggro squad over destroyers. The big problem is these boys are big, expensive boys. It's hard to get around that, and then in order to take some of their more dangerous units, you really need transports, and you just can't be investing money in transports. You need to be investing money in units that are actually going to do something. So for me, yeah, it's hard to put them. Their spell list is average. Their army-wide ability, as I said, they've got their... Oh yeah, sorry, they still have their, their Battleborn, Darkborn, all that kind of stuff abilities. So they still get the Battle Brothers abilities, but they're just not as flexible, and I think that's a detriment to them. So I'm actually going to be putting these guys into B tier as well. Yeah, that's right. My first list I ever made, I put them in S tier. I don't think they deserve to be there anymore. I do think that, don't get me wrong, I do think the 2+ save needed a nerf, because why take tanks when you can just take a unit of tanks? But I just think that their inflexibility is a weak point now. Ratmen Clans. So these are guys that were aggressively B tier last time I talked about them, which was a good upgrade from C tier. So they got Scurry, which is pretty good, but their big kicker ability is on 2 of their standard sort of like frontline units, their workhorse units. They've got an ability where if they are ever shaken or destroyed, they reappear back on a table edge within 12 inches of the table edge. It counts as them ambushing, but their whole entire unit just comes back. Basically, they can grind you down with attrition. They also have this ability where they've got dangerous guns, which if you roll a 1 when you're shooting with them, the guy just dies. The unit takes a wound. But they have +4 AP across the board because of that. And they're not rare guns for them either. Like, you can't take staggering amounts of them, but you can take a dangerous amount of them. Ironically. Fits their moniker. And yeah, they're just hard to deal with. Like, they've got chaff, but they've got a lot of stuff that boosts their guys. They've got redeployment as well, which is always a nifty ability. And yeah, basically they can throw a unit away to deal damage to a much more dangerous, much more expensive unit, and then it just comes back onto the board. And it comes back onto the board wherever, which means if they want, they can have it so they just suicide a unit into another one, like just sacrifice them, deal some damage, attrition, and then come back over to your edge of the table and just end up in your deployment zone. I was surprised at just how good these guys are, and Warboss fits recently just won a tournament with them, and it was well played. He played very well, and I can't deny the fact that when I played them, it was like a glove, basically, you know. So yeah, Rebel Guerillas, which also, funnily enough, do have actual guerrilla men in their army. Rebel Guerillas. I really want to like these guys. They've got some interesting stuff to play with, but I just feel like there's such a hodgepodge of units. Their leaders have weird abilities. Some of them are useful, but some of them are just like, why would I take this as a leader ability? I really feel like these guys should be the ambush army, as in they should be ambushing a lot, and they're just not. This is the army where I feel like if they had Elven Jesters, even if like some of their guys had Elven Jesters redeploy, they would be so much better. I'd probably recommend them. Yeah, like most of their armies can't take ambush. They do have surprise piercing shot, which is ambush with +2 AP, but they have it on snipers. So I mean, that's a unit I'd want to have it on, but yeah, I just feel like they're such a hodgepodge. I don't think they're particularly bad. I just don't think they're particularly good either, and it's because they don't really have an identity. They need something. I don't know what it is, but they just need something to sort of give themselves a bit of a standout. And giant monkey men who punch people to death just isn't enough of a standout for me to go, yeah, it turns out when you're a hodgepodge of alien races in lore, you're also a hodgepodge of alien races in play. So I'd probably say that I'd roughly put them on the same level as Goblin Reclaimers. I think they're just a touch more consistent than Goblin Reclaimers with what they do, and so they sort of just beat them out. Robot Legions! Okay, so Robot Legions, of course, their army-wide ability on a 6th, they don't take a wound, which is not a staggeringly amazing ability, but it is good. But the big kicker is all their leaders have reanimation, which is good. So reanimation is kind of like We'll Be Back from Warhammer, or reanimation protocols, which is on when their unit dies, as long as their whole unit isn't wiped out, on a 5+ for each wound that was lost, they get back up. It's an aura. So you stick in a unit of Tri-Scorpions with a Tri-Scorpion leader, and for each wound that is dealt that they didn't successfully save, which, you know, they probably have a good chance of doing, they get to roll a dice and dude's getting back up. And remember, with tough units, they only, like, say you kill one tough unit, right? Like, he's dead. So now it's 2 Tri-Scorpions and their leader. He rolls the 3 dice, he gets 1/5, that unit is back. That guy's back up. He's back in the game. He only needed to roll a 5. Now he doesn't get to re-roll them at any point. Like any unit, any wound that is failed from the 5 it's gone permanently. It's just. But yeah, it can get real hard real quick. Now these guys also have faction-wide slow, of course, except for a few units. But unlike dwarves, these guys have the guns to back up the fact that they're not getting into close combat, and they have plenty of ways around it that doesn't include wasting a leader's ability. You can take jetpack guys to close combat, you can take Tri-Scorpions who just don't have slow at all, and you can take Swift. I wouldn't really recommend that. You know, they got plenty of ranged options. The dwarves don't have as many. So yeah, Robot Legions S tier, and I'd probably... Ooh, do I put them above Blessed? Yeah, I think I do. Just. Saurian Starhost. So, Primal, of course, they've always had this 6, and they get to roll the dice again. The big kicker is that with a Saurian Veteran and Saurian Warriors, the unit is actually viable. Why is this? Well, you can take Rending on Shooting as a leader upgrade. This is staggeringly good on warriors who can take carbines. So that is, if you take a double unit, that's 20 rending shots at 18 inches, which even if you're playing on a full-size table, generally if they position themselves enough well between terrain, that is second turn and they are shredding units. And honestly, yeah, like 20 shots, and even in a 5-man unit, 10 shots at rending is a lot of painful stuff to deal with. But I particularly found a double stack unit, 20 rending shots, you are absolutely ripping units to shreds. And they're pretty cheap at doing that too. That's not a super duper expensive unit. It's not a cheap unit either, but for what you get, it's cheap. Geckos are, of course, always a good thing, and they have Primal as well now. When it was called Predator, they didn't get it. And, of course, Gators are still just absolute monsters in close combat. So, Raptor Riders are good. Their Dino monsters are great. And they've got Frog Mages, which are really good spellcasters, and they've got a good spell list to go along with it. So, yeah, Saurian Starhost. I used to think they were B. They are now definitely A. I'd probably put them below Heavy. Yeah, yes. Soul Snatcher Cults, or as the little box says, Old Snatcher Cole. Where do I put these guys? So once again, they kind of remind me of a different flavor of Human Defense Force, with a bit more of an alien Hives kink. They have Army-wide Scouts, so basically after they deploy, they can move 9 inches for free. They are placed 9 inches for free, sorry. So that means that they can be placed on top of a building, they can be placed, in a piece of terrain, whatever it happens to be. They don't have to worry about moving through it. So, yeah, I mean, that's good. It means that the Soul Snatchers can actually get into close combat, possibly in the first turn without being shot to pieces. But, yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe I just don't get these guys. I haven't played them a lot, so let's get that out of the way first. But I just feel like every single time I play them, I just want to play Human Defense Force instead. They're not as flexible as you might think they are. I suppose might be the best way to put them. I enjoyed playing them, but yeah, I don't think I really felt like I was ever in a position where I was like, yes, I am clearly winning like some of these other armies. I think I'd prefer to play Infected Colonies over them. I'd probably put them roughly on par with Eternal Dynasty at the moment. No, actually, I'd probably put Eternal Dynasty slightly above them. I'd probably say roughly about Rebel Guerillas. Titan Lords. I mean, I want to like Titans. They're cool, but they are clearly the worst army in the game for me. So they at least got new Titans added in, which means they can actually field a decent size army now, as in like they can get a decent amount of actions. You're not taking 3 Titans. But the big problem is that they're still weak to just mass fusion guns. You take a Human Defense Force army and you just give them all fusion guns or laser cannons or whatever, and even with regeneration, there's not much you can really do to stop them from just murdering you very quickly. And it's also very hard to hit them back as well, because they just have a bit more wiggle room than you do. Yeah, you can kill like maybe 5 or 6 guys in one shot. If they've still got their heavy weapons platform, at the end of the day, they're still shooting at you next turn. And they just need to focus fire one. And you lose 1 Titan, and that's a big deal. They lose 1 unit of guys. With Human Defense Force, there's another 9 waiting for you, right? You lose a Titan when you've got 3 Titans. That's a third of your army dead. And trust me, with deadly weapons, they die real quick. So, for me personally, I just feel like they still have the weakness that they are just not particularly good if you take a whole bunch of deadly weapons, and deadly weapons can be easily funded. And also their faction-wide abilities kind of... Actually, on Titan Lords, it's not as bad as it is on what I think Battle Brothers, so it's... If the units at the start of the turn are shaken, you roll a dice on a 4+, they're not shaken anymore. I mean, that's not so bad on Titans, because as I said, you may not have that many to maneuver, and once they get shaken, it's really hard to go, oh great, now a third of my army can't act. Wormhole Demons. So once again, we have a more close combat variation of Havoc, but obviously these guys are more demon-y. They're more about the demons. They have no Havocs. That being said, they do have some range options, but they're pretty short, like 12 to 18 inches, so it's short to mid-range, I suppose I'll put. But that being said, it's like, yeah, I don't really know what to say about these guys. I like them, but I also kind of, I don't know, an army full of demons in a sci-fi setting for me is a bit boring, I suppose. I guess, in say, like, Age of Fantasy, they're more exotic at that point, right? An army full of demons, yep, no, nice. And also, because that game's more close combat focused, it's not so crazy to have like some shorter range demons that can sort of pepper guys as well as like run in and rip them up. But in this game, they've got to deal with a lot of long range guys, and they just don't have a comfortable way to do it. Obviously, they have ambush options and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, I just think they have a bit of an uphill climb because they don't really have a massive amount of range. That being said, I don't think they're bad. I don't think they're bad at all. I actually would put them probably roughly in the same area as sort of like the mid B tier. That being said, I just think they don't have the flexibility of Havoc Brothers. Okay, guys, so we've finished our list. Let's have a quick sticky beak and do some rearranging. Keep in mind that it's really hard to sort of negotiate everything here. So, Alien Hives, they are definitely going up into S tier, I think. I think they are just, yeah, they're just a really good army. Yep. Ratmen Clans, are they going up into S tier? No, I think they're staying where they are. And here's the reasoning why. I think they're a really good army, but I think they still have the problem that they mostly have chaff, and that's pretty much what they do. They do have better chaff than a lot of other people, but they don't really have a massive option of elite troops. But of course, respawning is nice. Yeah, I just don't think they're quite what I'd call the X factor to put them up into S tier, or the S factor maybe. That being said, I do think they can give any S tier army a run for their money. Havoc Brothers, just below Ratmen. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And I think I'd probably say these 5 here. The Havoc Brothers, Saurian Starhost, Battle Brothers, Orc Marauders, and DAO, I'd probably say are roughly on par. If I was to absolutely put these in an order, I'd probably, yeah, like this one's negotiable. I don't know who because these guys are obviously, let's hack everything up and let's shoot and make some insanely dangerous shots, but they're not going to hit very often. And these guys are, of course, like, we don't really do close combat, but we are really good at shooting. So it's sort of hard to... I'd put them on top of each other if I could. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Maybe these guys should go above Havoc. Do I think they're earning second place? Yeah, I actually do. I think I'm going to put these 2 above Havoc. Yeah. That I'm happy with the unit. Human Inc. and Dark Elf Raiders, I think I put them roughly the same, which is the case of with a good player, and if they get going, yeah, they're hard to counteract. They really are. Like, I just think that both these armies can be really nasty if you play them correctly. But the problem is that I'd say both of them can also be wildly ineffective if you play them wrong. Like if you pop this special ability at the wrong time, the Human Inc. one, it's useless. And if you don't try and stack a couple kills here and there on certain units in Dark Elf Raiders, I do think that they are very squishy and they can be torn apart. Elven Jesters. Do I want to move these guys up to A tier? I do think they're good. I can't. I just can't. I can't. I want to, but I can't. I just feel like that they're very inflexible. The one thing that they do it stupendously well. If it was like, who is the best at doing what Elven Jesters do, they'd be S tier. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if it was like a list of who does each thing individually the best, Elven Jesters would be up there. They're hard, they're nasty, and they have a lot of options to sort of reposition, and they can suddenly be right up in your face, and then boom, they're gone. So yeah, but their army just doesn't have a lot of flexibility. They have two vehicles, jet bikes and bigger jet bike. Yeah, sorry, like I just can't. I want to, but I can't. Prime Brothers, Machine Cults, Dwarf Guilds, Infected Colonies, Wormhole Demons. Yeah, I think these guys are all roughly the same. I think Dwarf Guilds are better than Prime Brothers, and I also think Machine Cults are better than Prime Brothers. I'd probably put Prime Brothers and Infected Colony on the same. Wormhole Demons, oh, that one's hard. Because Wormhole Demons can be really good at what they do. Are they better than Prime Brothers? I think I'm going to have to say they are. Like, I just think I think while Prime Brothers have a few more ranged options, I just think Wormhole Demons are better at what they do than Prime Brothers are. Sorry, Prime Brothers, I do want to love you, man, but... Eternal Dynasty, Soul Snatchers, and Rebel Guerillas I'd roughly put about the same. I think Eternal Dynasty I'm going to play a few more times with, because I do want to see if I'm just playing them wrong in my head. And these guys might move. But I just feel like these three guys here, they're a bit hodgepodgey. They don't really seem to have a massive identity on their own anymore. Oh, like, and the worst part is that I like these three factions, like particularly Eternal Dynasty. I think Eternal Dynasty is really cool, but I just think that I'm struggling to figure out exactly what the game is trying to tell me to do with these three factions. Team Inconsistent. I should make a tier for inconsistency. Goblin Reclaimers and Jackals. Yeah, I mean, I like Goblins, I like Jackals. They're both fun, but you need to be able to just get a consistency thing going with them, and neither of them really want to be consistent. And that's fine. I think we need armies like this. Armies like these are fun. They're not good, they're fun. And guess what? Fun armies are fun. You know, Vamps 2025, fun armies are fun. You can take that one to the bank. Custodians, do I want to move them up to B tier? Do I think they're worth it? As I said, if they had their shooting shroud, I would put them up, because it makes them harder to target with mass fusion guns. It does. You have to get right up in their face to be able to fusion gun them. And guess where they want you to be? Right in their face, so they can stab you to death with their shot pikes, basically. But yeah, I mean, I want to like them. I do like them. Let me say that. And I would definitely take a unit of Custodians in any relevant army. Take them with Human Defense Force, take them with Blessed Sisters, take them with Battle Brothers, probably not take them with Prime Brothers, because that's kind of like putting a hat on a hat there. You know, take them with Human Inquisition. I'd take them with any human faction. I like keeping my factions themed, is the best way to put it, I think. Even though Blessed Sisters and Custodian Brothers in lore probably not going to be working together. Really? Yep, that's all I got to say about them. And then Titan Lords. I think I've already talked about Titan Lords enough. We all know why they're in C. I do think Custodians are better than them, clearly. I think Custodians would absolutely wreck Titan Lords in one-on-one. They're particularly good at killing things, and I just don't think that the Titan Lords would dish out enough damage to stop them from getting murdered, basically. And that's it. That's the list, guys. Hopefully this one's a bit shorter than the last one. It is, by 20 minutes. I'll take that as a win. And once I edit it, it'll be even shorter. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. And once again, if you disagree with any of my opinions, please drop a comment and we can have a chinwag about it. I am absolutely fine to change my mind on things. Do remember, once again, this is not a comprehensive list. In other words, I didn't break down every army. I may have missed abilities. I may have not decided to talk about certain things for brevity. So just keep that in mind when writing your comments out. But do feel free to say, hey, Vamps, you missed the fact that Watch Brothers can take Purge now, which is something that I found out about the other day, and that's fine, you know, great. But yeah, that's all for me. Thank you so much for joining me. I will catch you on the next one, and you have a good one. See yous.